The tribunal chamber was the largest room Jake Morrison had ever seen. It stretched so far in every direction that he could barely see the walls. Thousands of aliens sat in floating seats that hovered in perfect circles around the center floor. Some had scales, others had fur, and many looked like nothing he could describe. They all stared down at him with eyes that showed no kindness. Jake stood alone in the middle of the chamber. His hands were bound with energy cuffs that glowed blue and hummed softly. The uniform he wore was dirty and torn from 3 weeks in a holding cell. He had not been allowed to clean up or change clothes before the trial. They wanted him to look guilty. High above him, 5 massive beings sat on a platform made of crystal. These were the judges of the Galactic Concordat. The one in the center was called Vexter, and she looked like a living diamond. Light passed through her body and created rainbow patterns on the floor. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Commander Jake Morrison of planet Earth," Vexter said. Her voice filled the entire chamber without need of speakers. "You stand accused of grave crimes against the Concordat and its member races. How do you answer?" Jake lifted his chin. His voice was steady. "I am not guilty of any crime." A wave of angry sounds came from the alien audience. Some hissed, others clicked or growled. One voice rose above the others. "Liar!" The voice belonged to Jindar, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms. He wore robes covered in medals and symbols. "We have evidence. We have witnesses. This human attacked a legal Creel mining operation and murdered 17 workers. He stole an artifact that belonged to the Creel Empire. These are facts, not opinions." Jindar turned to face the thousands of aliens watching. "This is what humans do. They are young and violent. They do not respect our laws. They believe their feelings are more important than Concordat law. I say we should remove Earth from the Concordat before they cause more damage." More sounds of agreement came from the crowd. Jake felt his heart sink. He knew this trial was not fair, but hearing it out loud made it real. They had already decided he was guilty, a woman's voice cut through the noise. "The accused has the right to defense under Concordat law. Or have we forgotten our own rules?" Kate Sullivan walked onto the chamber floor. She was Earth's ambassador, a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a formal suit that looked plain compared to the colorful clothes of the aliens around them. But she walked with confidence that made some of the aliens lean forward with interest. "Ambassador Sullivan," Vexler said with a nod. "You may speak for the accused?" Kate stopped beside Jake and gave him a quick look. Her eyes said, "Stay calm," then she faced the judges. "High Arbiter, honored council members, I ask that we examine the evidence before we make judgments. Commander Morrison is a decorated officer with 15 years of service. He has saved lives across 4 systems. He has never broken Concordat law before this accusation. Does this sound like a murderer to you?" Jindar laughed, a wet sound that made Jake's skin crawl. "Pretty words, Ambassador. But we have proof. Show them the recordings." The chamber darkened. Above everyone's heads, a massive hologram appeared. It showed Jake's ship, the Pathfinder, flying through space toward a small planet covered in red dust. The image zoomed in to show buildings on the surface with the Creel Empire symbol painted on their sides. In the recording, weapons fire came from the Pathfinder. The beams hit the buildings and they exploded. Small figures ran from the flames. Some fell and did not get up. The image froze on the sight of 17 bodies lying still. The chamber was silent. Jake closed his eyes. He had known they would show this. It looked terrible. It looked like murder. "As you can see," Jindar said softly, "there is no question what happened. The human attacked without warning, without mercy. This is who they are." Kate's jaw tightened. "May I question the context of this recording? When was it taken? What happened before this moment?" "The recording is from 3 months ago on the planet Kepler 442, Jindar answered. "As for context, what context justifies murder?" "I would like to call witnesses," Kate said. Vexter nodded slowly. "You may call one witness. Choose carefully." Kate looked at Jake. He gave a small nod. She turned back to the judges. I call Lieutenant Ben Carter, first officer of the Pathfinder. A young man walked into the chamber. Ben Carter looked nervous but determined. He stood straight and saluted the judges in human military fashion. Some of the aliens made curious sounds at the gesture. Lieutenant Carter, Kate said, tell us what happened at Kepler 442. Ben took a breath. We received a distress signal. Someone was calling for help. The message said that people were being forced to work in dangerous conditions. That they were dying? Commander Morrison ordered us to investigate because that's our job. We protect people who need help. Did you attack immediately when you arrived? Kate asked. No, ma'am. We spent 2 days watching and scanning. We saw that the Creel had found something underground. Something old. They were making the local people dig it up. The people looked sick and scared. We intercepted their communications. The Creel were talking about a weapon. They had activated something they didn't understand. Jindar stood up. Lies! The humans were spying on a legal operation. That itself is a crime. Let the witness finish, Vexler said coldly. Ben continued. Commander Morrison tried to contact the Creel commander. He asked them to stop what they were doing. He warned them that the artifact was dangerous. They laughed at him. They said humans had no authority in Creel space, and then? Kate prompted. Then the artifact activated. Our sensors showed a massive energy buildup. Dr. Emma Winters, our science officer, said it was a doomsday device. If it fully activated, it would destroy all life in the system. Not just the planet, the entire system. Billions of people lived in nearby colonies. The chamber erupted in whispers and clicking sounds. Vexler raised one crystalline hand and silence fell. Commander Morrison gave the Creel one more warning, Ben said. His voice shook slightly. He told them to evacuate their people. He gave them 10 minutes. The Creel commander said they wouldn't leave. He said it was a bluff. He said a human wouldn't dare fire on Creel citizens. But your commander did fire, Jindar said. He killed 17 beings. Ben's face went pale, but he nodded. Yes, he destroyed the facility to stop the artifact. The Creel commander ordered his people to stay inside. He used them as shields. Commander Morrison had seconds to decide. Let them die or let billions die? He made the hard choice. Jake felt something hot behind his eyes. He remembered that day. He remembered seeing those 17 life signs vanish from his screen. He remembered the weight that settled on his shoulders and never left. Kate turned to the judges. This is not murder. This is a tragedy. Commander Morrison saved billions of lives. He tried everything else first. The deaths of those 17 Creel workers are on their commander, not on Jake Morrison. Your human emotions cloud your judgment, Jindar said. He walked down to the chamber floor and pointed at Jake. Kepler 442 is Creel territory. Recognized by the Concordat. Your commander had no right to interfere. No right to decide who lives or dies. No right to destroy Creel property. The law is clear. Interference in territorial disputes is forbidden. The penalty is exile. Vexler looked at Kate. Does the defense have anything else to say? Kate spread her hands. Only this. If following the law means allowing genocide, then perhaps the law needs to change. The Concordat was founded on principles of justice and protection. When did we forget that? The law is not based on human feelings, Vexler said, but her voice was softer than before. The law is absolute. It must be, or there is chaos. She looked at the other 4 judges. They seemed to communicate without words, their bodies glowing in different patterns. Finally, Vexler turned back to the crowd. The council will now vote on preliminary guilt. All in favor of guilty, signal now. The chamber filled with light. Hundreds of small, glowing orbs appeared in the air, each one a vote. Jake watched them multiply. More and more and more. The lights seemed endless. When the voting stopped, a number appeared in the air above the judges. 847 votes for guilty. Only 3 votes for not guilty. Earth and 2 small allied worlds. That was all. Jake felt his legs go weak, but he did not fall. He would not give them that satisfaction. Commander Jake Morrison, Vexler said, you are found preliminarily guilty of interference in sovereign territory and destruction of recognized property. The final sentence will be determined after full investigation. Until then, you will remain in custody. Guards came forward to take Jake away. He looked back at Kate. She had tears in her eyes, but her face was angry, not sad. This isn't over, she called to him. I won't let them do this. Jake managed a small smile. I know. Thank you for trying. As the guards led him from the chamber, he heard Jindare's voice rise above the crowd. Let this be a lesson. Humans do not belong in the Concordat. They are too young, too violent, too certain of their righteousness. We should revoke Earth's membership before they contaminate our civilization further. The crowd roared in agreement. Jake was taken back to his cell. It was small and cold, with walls that glowed faintly. There was a hard bed and nothing else. He sat down and put his head in his hands. The investigation began 3 days after the trial. Jake sat in a different room now, one with windows that showed the stars outside. At least they had given him that small kindness. He could see the ships coming and going from the tribunal station. Carrying delegates from across the galaxy, the door opened and a new alien entered. She was tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Her eyes were large and golden, with no pupils that Jake could see. She wore simple gray robes and carried a datapad that floated beside her. Commander Morrison, she said. Her voice was gentle, almost musical. I am Inquisitor Velshara. I have been assigned to investigate your case fully before sentencing. I will speak with your crew, examine all evidence, and determine the complete truth of what happened at Kepler 442. Jake stood up and nodded respectfully. Thank you, Inquisitor. I hope you'll find that I acted in the only way possible. Velshara's colors rippled to a deep blue. I hope that as well, Commander. But I must warn you. Even if everything you say is true, even if you save billions of lives, Concordat law is very clear about territorial interference. My job is not to judge whether your actions were moral, only whether they were legal. I understand, Jake said quietly. But isn't there supposed to be room for circumstances? For emergency situations? There was once. Velshara sat down and gestured for Jake to do the same. Long ago, the Concordat allowed for exceptions, but that led to wars. Everyone claimed their interference was justified. Everyone said their cause was righteous. So the law became absolute. No exceptions. No excuses. It is harsh, but it keeps peace. Jake leaned forward. But it's not really peace if we allow atrocities to happen, is it? That's just looking the other way. Velshara's color shifted to purple. She was quiet for a long moment. You think like my people did once? Before we learned that the galaxy is too large, too complex for simple answers. But I did not come here to debate philosophy. I came to learn what happened. Will you tell me your version of events? For the next 2 hours, Jake told her everything. He described receiving the distress signal, the decision to investigate. What they found on Kepler 442, he told her about the Creel, forcing the local population to excavate the artifact. About the warnings they gave, about the impossible choice he faced. Velshara listened without interrupting. Her colors changed throughout the story, shifting from blue to green to gold. When Jake finished, she was silent for several minutes. This artifact, she finally said. Tell me more about it. Jake hesitated. He could feel the peace against his chest growing warm. Our science officer said it was ancient. Older than the Creel Empire. Older than the Concordat itself. Did you take any piece of it with you? Jake's heart hammered in his chest. He wanted to lie, but something stopped him. I don't know. When we destroyed the facility, there was an explosion of energy. It hit our ship? After that, I started having strange dreams. Dreams? Velshara leaned closer. Her colors turned silver. What kind of dreams? Images, symbols. Sometimes I hear a voice speaking in a language I don't understand. but I feel like I should understand it. Like it's important. Velshara stood up suddenly. Her colors flickered rapidly between several shades. Commander Morrison, this is very serious. The artifact you destroyed may have been a custodian relic. Do you know what that means? Jake shook his head. The custodians were a race that existed millions of years ago. They were the first to establish laws for civilizations to live together in peace. Most of their technology was lost, but occasionally we find remnants. These artifacts are extremely powerful and extremely dangerous. If the Creel were trying to activate one as a weapon, she trailed off, her colors going dark. Then I was right to stop them, Jake finished. Perhaps, Velshara said carefully. But you may have also triggered something we don't understand. I will need to examine you. And I will need to speak with your science officer. Dr. Emma Winters arrived at the tribunal station the next day. She was a woman in her 40s with messy brown hair and glasses that she constantly adjusted. She looked uncomfortable in formal clothes and kept pulling at her collar as she entered the investigation room. Dr. Winters, Velshara said in greeting. Thank you for coming. I didn't have much choice, Emma said bluntly. But I'm glad to be here. Maybe someone will actually listen to what I found. Velshara gestured to a chair. I am listening. Please tell me everything about the artifact. Emma's discomfort vanished when she started talking about her work. She pulled up holographic displays from her datapad, showing scans and readings. This wasn't just any ancient technology, she said excitedly. The energy signature was unlike anything in our databases. I cross-referenced it with every known civilization, living or dead. Nothing matched. Then I went back further into the theoretical records, the legends, and I found mentions of something called the custodians. What did you learn about them? Velshara asked. Not much. Most records were lost or destroyed. But the stories say they created the first laws of galactic civilization. They built artifacts to judge worlds and civilizations, to determine if species were worthy of survival. Emma paused and looked at Jake. The artifact on Kepler 442 was one of those judges. Jake felt cold. A judge? But the Creel were using it as a weapon. They were trying to, Emma corrected. But I don't think it would have worked. The artifact was resisting. I detected multiple defensive protocols activating. It was protecting itself from the Creel. When Commander Morrison destroyed the facility, the artifact released its energy. Not as a weapon. As a message. What kind of message? Jake asked. Emma met his eyes. I think it was reaching out. Looking for someone who understood its purpose. Someone who valued justice over power. Velshara's colors turned bright white. That is a very serious claim, Doctor. Are you saying the artifact chose Commander Morrison? I'm saying something happened during that explosion. Something our instruments couldn't fully measure. And ever since, Commander Morrison has been different. Different how? Velshara turned to Jake. Jake pulled open his uniform shirt. Against his chest, just over his heart, a small symbol glowed faintly. It looked like a circle with lines radiating outward like a sun. It pulsed in time with his heartbeat. Velshara made a sound that might have been a gasp. Her colors went completely dark except for small points of light like stars. Commander, why did you not report this? I didn't know what it was, Jake said. At first I thought it was a burn from the energy blast. But it never hurt. It just exists. Sometimes it gets warm, like it's trying to tell me something. May I scan it? Velshara asked. Jake nodded. The Inquisitor pulled out a device and passed it over the symbol. The device made several different sounds, then went silent. Velshara looked at the readings and her colors flickered rapidly. This is beyond my expertise, she said quietly. I need to consult the archives. Commander, Dr. Winters, you must both return to your quarters and speak to no one about this. Do you understand? They both nodded. Vel single quote Shara left the room quickly, her robe swirling behind her. Jake and Emma looked at each other. Am I in more trouble now? Jake asked. Emma gave a small laugh. I don't think trouble covers it. Jake, if that symbol means what I think it means, you're carrying a piece of the most powerful civilization that ever existed. That's either going to save you or condemn you. Maybe both. The next day, Kate Sullivan came to visit Jake. She looked tired and worried. They sat together in his quarters, speaking quietly. Velshara won't tell me what she found, Kate said. But she's been in the Concordat archives for 2 days straight. Jake, what did you tell her? Jake showed her the symbol on his chest. Kate stared at it, her face going pale. Oh, Jake, she whispered. What is that? A piece of the artifact, I think. Emma believes it chose me somehow. That it bonded with me during the explosion. Kate stood up and paced the small room. This changes everything. If the Concordat learns you have custodian technology, they'll never let you go. They'll study you, keep you locked up, maybe forever. I know, Jake said calmly, but hiding it won't help either. The truth has a way of coming out. You're too honest for your own good, Kate said with a sad smile. That's what got you into this mess. No, Jake corrected gently. Doing the right thing got me into this. I'd do it again. Kate sat back down and took his hand. I know you would. That's what scares me. 3 more days passed. Ben came to visit, bringing food from Earth that he'd managed to find at a trading post. They ate together and talked about anything except the trial. It felt good to laugh, even for a little while. Emma visited too, bringing her latest research. She had been digging through every database she could access, looking for information about the custodians. I found something, she said, keeping her voice low. A fragment of a text from a dead civilization. It talks about the bearers chosen by the custodians to uphold justice when law failed. Jake, I think that's what happened to you. I think the artifact made you a bearer. Bearer of what? Jake asked. Justice, Emma said simply. Real justice. Not just law, but what's right. On the 7th day, Velshara finally returned to Jake's quarters. Her colors were dim, almost gray. She looked exhausted. I have completed my investigation, she said. I have reviewed all. The alarms woke Jake from a restless sleep. They were not the usual soft chimes of the station systems. These were loud, urgent, the kind that meant real danger. He sat up on his bed and looked around the small room. Everything seemed normal at first, then he felt it. The symbol on his chest burning hot. Not painfully, but intensely, like a star had taken root in his skin. Light spilled from under his shirt, golden and bright enough to illuminate the entire room. The door to his quarters slid open. 2 guards rushed in, weapons drawn. They were both Creole soldiers with purple skin and 4 arms. They stopped when they saw the light coming from Jake. What is that? One of them demanded. What are you doing? I don't know, Jake said honestly. He pulled open his shirt. The symbol blazed like a small sun. I can't control it. Before the guards could respond, the wall of Jake's room began to glow. Not with the harsh light of the station systems, but with the same golden light coming from his chest. The metal of the wall seemed to become transparent, like looking through water. Something moved through the wall. It passed through the solid metal as easily as walking through fog. The guards raised their weapons and fired, but the energy beams went straight through the object without effect. The artifact emerged fully into the room. It was a sphere about the size of Jake's head, floating in the air. Its surface was covered in symbols that shifted and changed, never staying still. Some looked like ancient writing from Earth. Others were alien characters Jake had never seen. The sphere pulsed with the same rhythm as Jake's heartbeat. Stay back. One guard shouted. He grabbed his communication device. Security, we have a containment breach in prisoner quarters. The artifact has escaped. The sphere ignored the guards. It drifted toward Jake slowly, deliberately. Jake stood up from his bed, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. I'm not going to hurt you, he said to the sphere. He felt foolish talking to an object, but somehow he knew it could understand him. The sphere stopped inches from Jake's face. This close, he could see that the symbols on its surface were not random. They formed patterns, stories, histories of countless civilizations. He saw images of great cities rising and falling, of wars and peace treaties, of justice served and denied. Then the sphere spoke, not with sound but directly into Jake's mind. And not just his mind. Everyone on the station heard it. Every delegate in their quarters, every guard at their post, every scientist in their lab. The voice echoed in thousands of minds at once. "I am the witness," it said. The voice was neither male nor female, neither old nor young. It simply was. "I am the judge construct of the custodians. I have slept for 3 million years, waiting. Now I am awake." The guards had dropped their weapons. They stood frozen, hands over their heads as if trying to keep the voice out of their minds. "Why are you awake now?" Jake asked, both out loud and in his thoughts. "Because you woke me," the witness replied. "When you stood against injustice, when you chose to save lives over following corrupt law, you called out to me across the void. I heard you. I have come to answer." Elsewhere on the station, chaos erupted. In the archives where Valshara had been sleeping after days of research, she woke to the voice in her mind. Her colors flashed bright red in alarm. She ran from her quarters toward the command center. In the diplomatic wing, Kate Sullivan grabbed her coat and rushed toward Jake's quarters. If the artifact was there, Jake needed someone on his side. In the tribunal chamber, High Arbiter Vexler called an emergency session. Delegates arrived in various states of dress, some still in sleep clothes, all looking frightened and confused, but in Jake's quarters something else was happening. The witness moved closer to him until it touched the symbol on his chest. The moment they connected, Jake's mind exploded with images and sensations. He saw the custodians as they had been, beings of pure energy who took form only when needed. They had watched the first civilizations emerge from their planets and reach for the stars. They had seen war and cruelty, but also kindness and courage. They had tried to guide the younger races toward peace. They had created the witnesses. Judge constructs scattered across the galaxy, each one designed to evaluate civilizations and protect the innocent. The witnesses were given one simple purpose: uphold justice, even when law failed. But the custodians had disappeared. Some said they had ascended to a higher plane of existence. Others believed they had destroyed themselves in a war beyond comprehension. Whatever the truth, they were gone. And their witnesses had gone dormant, waiting for beings worthy of reactivating them. Jake gasped as the visions ended. He stumbled backward and would have fallen if the witness had not held him upright with some invisible force. "You understand now," the witness said. "You know what I am, what you are becoming." "I'm just a soldier," Jake whispered. "I'm not special. I'm not worthy of this." "Worthiness is not about perfection," the witness said. "It is about choice. You chose justice over convenience. You chose truth over safety. You chose to bear the cost of doing right, knowing it would destroy you. That is what makes you worthy." The door burst open again. This time it was Kate, followed by 3 more guards. She stopped when she saw the witness floating beside Jake. "Jake," she breathed. "What is happening?" Before Jake could answer, the witness turned to face Kate. "Ambassador Kate Sullivan of Earth, you have fought to defend this man, knowing the cost to yourself and your world. You have chosen truth over politics. You too show the qualities of justice." Kate looked stunned. "I thank you." "There is no need for thanks," the witness said. "I am here to conduct a trial, but not the trial you expected." The witness rose higher in the air. Its light grew brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. Then it spoke again, and this time its voice reached every corner of the station. "I call the Galactic Concordat to judgment. All delegates will gather in the tribunal chamber. All who have voice in the government will attend. There will be no exceptions. This is not a request." Guards tried to block doorways to prevent delegates from leaving their quarters, but it was useless. An invisible force compelled everyone to walk toward the chamber. Even those who resisted found their feet moving without their permission. Jake and Kate were swept along with the crowd. The witness floated ahead of them, leading the way like a beacon. "What's it going to do?" Kate whispered. I think it's going to tell everyone the truth, Jake said. Everything we know, and everything we don't. That could start a war, Kate said. Or it could bring justice, Jake replied. I guess we'll find out. The tribunal chamber filled quickly. Thousands of delegates took their floating seats, some looking angry, most looking afraid. The 5 judges sat on their crystal platform with Vexler in the center. She looked at the witness with what might have been awe or terror. What is the meaning of this? Jindar shouted from his seat. This artifact has no authority here. It is property of the Concordat to be studied and contained. The witness rotated to face him. I am property of no one? I am a creation of the custodians, the founders of all galactic law. Your Concordat was built on fragments of our teachings, twisted and broken over time. I am here to restore what was lost. Jindara's purple skin went darker. You are a machine. An old machine. We are living beings with the right to govern ourselves? Then govern justly, the witness said simply. But you do not. You have allowed law to become a tool of power rather than a shield for the weak. You punish those who act with conscience and reward those who hide behind legal technicalities. This cannot continue. Vexler raised one crystalline hand. Witness, if that is truly what you are, explain yourself. Why do you challenge us? Because I have witnessed an injustice, the witness said. It moved to hover above Jake, who stood in the center of the chamber floor. This being, Commander Jake Morrison, has been judged guilty under your law. But your law is wrong. A wave of angry sounds filled the chamber. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Vexler had to strike a gong 3 times before silence returned. The law is absolute, she said firmly. Without it, there is chaos. Without justice, law is tyranny, the witness countered. Let me show you what your absolute law has created. The chamber darkened. The witness projected images into the air, holographic scenes drawn from its vast memory. The first showed a planet where one species enslaved another. And the Concordat did nothing because both species were part of the same. Legal government. The second showed a colony destroyed by corporate mining, with thousands dead from toxic waste. The Concordat investigated and fined the company a small amount, less than they had earned from the mine. The third showed a diplomatic vessel carrying refugees attacked by pirates. The Concordat could not respond because the attack happened in disputed space, and sending aid would constitute territorial interference. Scene after scene played out. Each one showed the Concordat choosing law over lives, procedure over compassion, stability over justice. When the images faded, the chamber was silent. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. A few looked ashamed. But Jindar stood up, his forearms spread wide. These are isolated incidents, he said. Tragedies, yes, but necessary sacrifices to maintain order. The Concordat has kept peace for 10,000 cycles. That is worth more than a few unfortunate deaths. The moment Jake spoke the words of acceptance, the symbol on his chest blazed with pure white light. The witness moved forward and merged with the symbol, becoming part of Jake in a way that went beyond physical form. He could feel its presence in his mind, not controlling him, but connecting with him. 2 beings sharing one purpose. Knowledge flooded into Jake's consciousness. The history of 1,000 worlds. The laws of the custodians. The principles of true justice. It was overwhelming, but the witness helped him process it all, organizing the information so he could understand and use it. When the light faded, Jake stood taller. His eyes glowed faintly with golden light. He looked at the gathered delegates and spoke with a voice that carried the weight of ages. The witness demands a new trial, Jake said. Not just of me, but of the entire system that judged me. We will examine the events at Kepler 442 from every angle. We will see what really happened, not through edited recordings and biased testimony, but through the eyes of the witness itself. Vexler looked uncertain. Her crystalline form flickered between different colors. This is highly irregular. The Concordat does not recognize the authority of ancient artifacts. Then perhaps it should, Kate said, stepping forward. The custodians created the foundation of your laws. If their own judge construct says you've strayed from their intent, Shouldn't you at least listen? Jindar pushed through the crowd of delegates. His forearms gestured wildly. This is a trick. The humans have somehow programmed this artifact to serve them. It is not a real custodian creation. It is a fake designed to save their criminal commander. Jake turned to face Jindar. Through the witness's knowledge, he could see the prosecutor clearly now. See the corruption, the lies, the decades of using law as a weapon against those he disliked. The witness sees all truth, Jake said calmly. Would you like it to testify about you, prosecutor? About the bribes you've taken? About the evidence you've hidden? About the innocent beings you've condemned to protect your wealthy friends? Jindar's skin went from purple to nearly black. You dare accuse me? You, a criminal? I accuse no one, Jake said. But the witness will show only truth. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. The chamber filled with whispers. Other delegates looked at Jindar with new suspicion. Some began accessing their datapads, probably searching for information about his past cases. Vexler struck her gong once. The sound rang through the chamber, demanding attention. Very well. The Concordat will hear the testimony of this witness. But I warn you, Commander Morrison, if this proves to be deception, the punishment will be severe for both you and your world. I understand, Jake said. Begin when you're ready. Jake closed his eyes. The witness within him reached out, touching the minds of everyone in the chamber. What happened next was unlike any testimony in Concordat history. Instead of words or images projected on screens, everyone experienced the events as, if they were actually there, they stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder as the distress signal came through. They heard the desperate voice calling for help. They felt Jake's concern, his immediate desire to respond. Through Jake's eyes, they saw Ben check the coordinates and confirm they were near Creel territory. Captain, that's in disputed space, Ben's voice said in their shared memory. The Creel claim it, but so do the local population. Legally, we could respond without violating Concordat law. Check anyway, Jake's voice replied. I want to be sure we have the right to be there. The memory shifted. They saw Emma at her station, running scans of Kepler 442. Her face showed growing alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy readings from the surface. They match the signature of custodian technology. Someone is trying to activate an ancient artifact. Can you tell what kind of artifact? Jake asked. Emma worked her controls frantically. Based on the energy patterns, it's a planetary defense system. Or at least that's what it was originally. But these systems were designed to protect against external threats. If someone activates it incorrectly, it could view all life in the system as the threat. The memory showed Jake's thoughts, his understanding of the danger, his immediate attempt to contact the Creel station on the surface. They heard his voice, calm and professional, warning the Creel commander about the artifact. The Creel commander's response came through clearly. Human vessel, you are in Creel territory without authorization. Leave immediately or you will be fired upon. We do not need your warnings about our own archaeological finds. Commander, I must insist, Jake's voice said. The artifact you found is extremely dangerous. Our sensors show you've already begun activation sequences. If you continue, you'll kill everyone in this system. Your sensors are wrong, the Creel commander said. This is a power source, nothing more. We have scientists who understand it far better than your primitive human could. Leave now. This is your final warning. The shared memory continued. They saw Jake order the ship to maintain position, but not to approach the planet. For 2 days, they watched and gathered data. They saw the local population on the surface, being forced to work in dangerous excavation sites. They saw Creel guards beating workers who moved too slowly. Through Emma's station. They saw the artifact powering up, its energy signature growing stronger every hour. They heard her increasingly desperate warnings that activation was approaching critical levels. Captain, we're out of time, Emma said. The artifact will reach full activation in approximately 47 minutes. When it does, it will scan for threats. Any living thing with technology will register as a potential danger. It will sterilize the entire system. Jake's decision process played out before everyone. They felt his consideration of every option. Calling for help would take too long. Trying to land and stop the Creel by force would start a diplomatic war. But doing nothing meant billions would die. How many people are in the system? Jake asked quietly. 3.2 billion on Kepler 442 itself, Ben reported. Another 2 billion in orbital colonies and space stations. 5.7 million on the mining moons. Plus approximately 400 Creel on the surface. And if we destroy the excavation site before the artifact fully activates? Emma ran calculations. That could work. The artifact is still partially dormant. If we destroy the power sources the Creel have connected to it, the artifact will go back to sleep. But Captain, there are workers at that site. At least 200 locals and 17 Creel. The memory showed Jake contacting the surface one more time. Creel Commander, this is your final chance. Evacuate the excavation site immediately. We will destroy it in 10 minutes to prevent the artifact from activating. I am giving you time to get your people to safety. Please take it, the Creel commander laughed. You will not fire, human. You would not dare create a diplomatic incident by killing Creel citizens. I know your species. You are soft. You value individual lives too much. We will stay and you will leave, or you will face the consequences of starting a war. They saw Jake give the evacuation order anyway. Broadcast on all frequencies in every language. This is Commander Jake Morrison of Earthship Pathfinder. An artifact at the excavation site will destroy all life in this system if it fully activates. Everyone within 10 miles of the site must evacuate immediately. You have 10 minutes. The local workers ran. They understood the danger and fled as fast as they could. But the Creel commander ordered his people to stay. Use them as human shields, betting that Jake would not fire. The timer counted down. 9 minutes, 8, 7, the artifact's energy signature grew stronger. Emma confirmed it had reached the point of no return. If they did not act now, activation would complete. At 3 minutes, Jake gave the order. Fire. Target the power junctions only. Minimize casualties. The weapon's fire was precise. The Pathfinder's beams hit the power conduits the Creel had connected to the artifact. Explosions ripped through the facility. In the chaos, some structures collapsed. The 17 Creel who had refused to evacuate were caught in the falling debris. Jake's face showed pain. Real, deep pain. But he did not look away. He watched as the rescue team searched for survivors. He watched as they found only bodies. Log it, Jake said quietly. 17 Creel casualties? List them by name. Contact their families personally. I will explain what happened and why. They deserve to know. The memory ended. The shared experience faded. Everyone in the tribunal chamber blinked as they returned to their own perspectives. Many looked shaken. Some were crying. Vexter was the first to speak. We saw. We felt it all. Commander Morrison, you tried everything else first. And he succeeded, Kate added. She stepped forward, her voice strong. How many people are alive today because of Jake's actions? 5.7 billion. How many died? 17, and only because their commander used them as pawns. This is not murder. This is tragedy born from one man's arrogance. But it is still interference in Creel territory, Jandar said, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The law is clear. Then the law must change, a new voice said. One of the other judges, a being made of swirling gas in a containment suit, spoke up. I have served the Concordat for 6 centuries. I have seen the law used to protect the guilty and punish the brave. If this is what our absolute law creates, then it is not just. It is cowardice. The High Council met for 18 hours. No one was allowed to enter the chamber where they deliberated. Guards stood at every entrance and all communication channels were blocked. The entire tribunal station waited in tense silence. Jake spent the time in his quarters with Kate, Ben, and Emma. They talked about everything and nothing. What they would do if he was exiled. What Earth's future looked like? Whether the Concordat would survive this crisis. You've started a revolution, Emma said, adjusting her glasses nervously. People are questioning laws that have stood for thousands of years. Some delegates are calling for complete restructuring of the legal system. Some are calling for your execution, Ben added bluntly. They think you're too dangerous to leave alive. Jake touched the symbol on his chest. It pulsed warmly under his fingers. The witness won't let that happen. It has plans for us. What kind of plans? Kate asked. I'm not entirely sure yet, Jake admitted. But I can feel it. There are other artifacts out there. Other pieces of custodian technology. Some are dormant like the witness was. Others are active and potentially dangerous. Someone needs to find them before they fall into the wrong hands. And that someone is you? Ben asked. Jake nodded slowly. I think so. The witness chose me to be its bearer. That means more than just one trial. It means I'm supposed to carry justice across the galaxy, find the places where law has failed and set things right. That's a big job for one person, Emma said. Then it's good I won't be alone, Jake replied, looking at his three friends. If you'll come with me. They were quiet for a moment. Then Ben grinned. Are you kidding? I'm not missing this. Someone needs to keep you from getting killed. I've always wanted to study custodian technology up close, Emma said. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Kate smiled but shook her head. I wish I could. But Earth needs a voice in the Concordat now more than ever. Someone has to stay and make sure they don't punish our world for your actions. But Jake, I'll support you however I can. The Concordat won't know what hit them. Before Jake could respond, the door chimed. A guard entered and bowed slightly, something he had not done before. Commander Morrison, the High Council requests your presence. They have reached a decision. The four of them exchanged glances. This was it. Jake stood, straightened his uniform, and walked toward his fate. The others followed behind him. The tribunal chamber was packed even fuller than before. Every delegate had returned, and many had brought assistants and advisors. The air hummed with tension and anticipation. Jake walked to the center of the floor. He stood straight, hands behind his back, and looked up at the five judges. Vexler seemed to shimmer in different colors like a prism catching sunlight. Commander Jake Morrison, Vexler began. Her voice was formal but not unkind. The High Council has reviewed all evidence presented by the witness. We have examined the laws of the Concordat, both as they are written and as they were originally intended by the custodians who inspired them. We have debated long and hard about what justice truly means. She paused, and Jake felt his heart hammering in his chest. The witness inside him remained calm, patient. We have concluded that the law as applied to your case was technically correct but morally wrong, Vexler continued. You did interfere in Creel territory. You did destroy their property and cause deaths, even if those deaths were not intentional. By the letter of our law, you are guilty. Disappointed sounds came from the crowd. Kate looked ready to argue, but Vexler raised one crystalline hand for silence. However, she said, we have also concluded that our law has become too rigid, too focused on procedure and not enough on purpose. The custodians created the foundations of galactic law to protect the innocent and promote justice. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that purpose. We became so concerned with maintaining order that we forgot why order matters in the first place. Vexler stood, and the other four judges stood with her. Therefore, the High Council issues the following ruling. Commander Jake Morrison, you are acquitted of all charges. Your actions at Kepler 442 were justified by circumstances that our law failed to account for. You saved billions of lives, and the Concordat recognizes this. The chamber exploded in sound. Some delegates cheered. Others shouted in anger. Vexler struck her gong 3 times before order returned. Furthermore, she continued, the Concordat formally recognizes the witness as a legitimate artifact of the custodians and acknowledges its authority to testify in matters of justice. We create a new position within the Concordat structure, bearer of justice. This position will be held by Commander Jake Morrison and will grant him authority to investigate cases where law and morality conflict. Vexler looked directly at Jake. Bearer Morrison, you will have the power to intervene in disputes, to call for new trials when you believe justice has been denied, and to seek out other custodian artifacts before they can be misused. You will answer to this council, but you will also have independence to act as your conscience and the witness guide you. Will you accept this responsibility? Jake felt the witness stir within him, filling him with warmth and light. He thought about the 17 Creel who had died, about the billions who had lived, about all the other beings across the galaxy who might need someone to stand up for them when law failed. I accept, Jake said clearly, but I have conditions. Surprised murmurs filled the chamber. No one made demands of the High Council, but Vexler nodded for him to continue. First, Earth's membership in the Concordat must be fully restored with no penalties or suspensions. My actions were mine alone. My world should not suffer for them. Agreed, Vexler said. Second, I want a crew of my choosing. People I trust to help me in this work, including humans and aliens who want to be part of this mission. Agreed, Vexler said again. Third, I want access to the Concordat archives. All of them, including the sealed sections. If I'm going to find other custodian artifacts, I need to know what the Concordat already knows about them. Vexler hesitated at this. Some of the archives contained dangerous information, secrets that could destabilize governments. But finally she nodded. Agreed, with the condition that you exercise discretion in what you share. And finally, Jake said, I want Prosecutor Jindar to face full trial for his crimes. Public trial, with the witness allowed to testify. The Concordat needs to show that corruption will not be tolerated even at the highest levels. That trial is already being arranged, Vexler said. Is there anything else, Bearer Morrison? Jake thought for a moment. Just one thing. I want it clearly stated that I serve justice, not politics. If I discover that the Concordat or any of its members are acting unjustly, I will oppose them. I need your promise that you'll respect that independence, even when it's inconvenient. The 5 judges looked at each other. This was a dangerous concession, giving one person that much freedom could lead to problems. But they had seen what the witness could do. They had felt the truth of its testimony. And they knew that denying this request would make everything else meaningless. Agreed, Vexler said finally. You will have your independence, Bearer Morrison. Use it wisely. She struck her gong one final time. This tribunal is concluded. Commander Jake Morrison is hereby acquitted and appointed as the first bearer of justice. May his service bring honor to the Concordat and justice to all who need it. The chamber erupted again, but this time more of the sounds were positive. Delegates came forward to congratulate Jake or to introduce themselves. Others left quickly, probably to report this development to their governments. Kate pushed through the crowd and hugged Jake tightly. You did it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone. We did it, Jake corrected. I couldn't have gotten this far without you. Ben and Emma joined them, both grinning. So, bearer of justice, Ben said with a mock salute. What's our first mission? First, we get a ship, Jake said. The Pathfinder served us well, but we need something bigger if we're going to explore the galaxy looking for artifacts. Something with better sensors, more cargo space, and room for a larger crew. The Concordat will provide one, Vexler said, approaching them. She had left her platform and walked among the crowd for the first time anyone could remember. Consider it a tool of your new office. Choose any vessel in our fleet. Thank you, High Arbiter, Jake said respectfully. Vexler's colors shifted to a warm gold. Thank you, Bearer Morrison. You have reminded us what we are supposed to be. That is a gift beyond measure. As she walked away, Emma pulled out her datapad. I've been researching while we waited. There are at least 7 known locations where custodian artifacts have been detected but never recovered. Some are in dangerous territory. Others are in places no one has explored in centuries. Then that's where we start, Jake said. We'll visit each site, find the artifacts, and make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. What if some of them are like the witness? Ben asked. What if they want to bond with someone else? Jake felt the witness pulse with amusement in his mind. Then we find worthy bearers for them. The custodians created different artifacts for different purposes. Justice is mine to carry, but there might be others. Bearers of truth or mercy or wisdom. We'll figure it out as we go. Over the next 3 days, Jake assembled his crew. Ben remained as first.